I'm gonna come back here so I can see you. Good evening, everybody. I am Jen Phillips, and I'm here tonight with Miss Melissa Price. She is one of my new friends who is not only is she a mom and a homeschooling mom, but she's also an inventor. And I wanted her to share with you some of the things that she has learned about being a mom, being a homeschooling mom, and then why she decided to create this product that'll benefit so many families. So Melissa, thank you for joining us tonight. And please share with us what it is that you do and how you help families today.
All right. Well, I created a card game called Emotion Commotion. I was actually getting ready to teach a young group of moms with younger children how to help their children manage emotions. And the idea for this game came to me. And so
hold on. You have to give us more background.
Okay.
Who are you? How many kids you got? How long have you been homeschooling? Because people are like, okay, she's just some lady who made up this game. Yeah, she's got friends, but like you've got real experience with why this is something that's valuable for families.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about your family.
Okay. So I have 2 adult children and 2 lovely grandsons who are the light of my life. I homeschooled for more than 20 years, and through that process taught a lot of youth along the way besides my own kids. I love them. They are my jam. And I would notice that they are having challenges just like we had challenges growing up with knowing what to do with their emotions. And just recalling my bringing up, my parents did the best that they knew how, but they didn't have a manual as to how to teach their kids what to do with their emotional health. And they never had one growing up for sure. They were raised by, a generation that learned to not talk about their feelings, right? And we've all like evolved, but at the same time, we're still in some dire straits.
So you were raising your kids even at the beginning of the video game era?
Yes.
More so than like now, like my kids are fully into it. Like I didn't play video games as a kid, but my kids are like all into it. I've got 2 of them upstairs, probably playing on the Xbox right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can totally relate to not having that emotional connection or emotional support to how to deal with my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, my 12-year-old was screaming and yelling at both me and my 17-year-old earlier this evening, like an hour and a half ago, because he didn't get his way. I'm like, okay, you're not 2. I really need to start recording him and then letting him watch. I haven't done that yet, but it's next. Like, but helping kids realize that emotional piece, we expect emotion out of a 2-year-old. We expect it out of them. And then somehow it's supposed to magically like be suppressed and then like go to school and well, I teach in public school, so go to school, be quiet, and don't you dare give your teachers a hard time.
Right.
And we have this expectation around our children and how they behave, but we don't necessarily give them the tools on how to deal with different feelings that they come up with, how to manage those feelings, and then how to resolve them and move through life, through relationships with those emotions. So it's really cool that you have found a way to help families with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it just like life kind of like hit you with that? Or was it specific kinds of students? Or was it like, you know what, there needs to be a better way,
Yeah, well, growing up, I was brought up in an abusive environment. And so as I was an older teen, I had some anger issues, but I did not mentally tie that to having been abused. I just thought I'm a bad person, and I just hated that part about myself that was angry and would just kind of burst out in the scene. And it wasn't anything terrible, but it was just the part I really disliked about myself. And so as an adult and starting to raise my children, I really wanted to deal with this anger that I had inside and the grief that actually it was covering up. And so I started reading a lot of books on the subject, going to counseling, and just have been on a healing journey the last 20 plus years because I was a parent and I wanted to bring up my children better.
Oh,
And
okay.
so as I've learned tools and learned how to manage my emotions a little bit better as time goes on, I'm seeing like our youth and our children struggling right now, and I just want to help them, and I want to help families connect.
It's
Um,
so wise that like the recognition that you had of yourself, realizing, you know what, I need some help. I'm trying to raise these kids and there's something missing. And
mm,
I need to recognize how to deal with my own. And I think a lot of times, especially as moms, we don't recognize, or if we do, it kind of like gets shoved over into the corner and like,
mm,
yeah, okay, we'll deal with that later. I've got these two little kids. They need food. They need shelter. Whatever they
mhm,
need my attention. So if I get time, it's going to be after 9 o'clock and I'm tired. So most moms end up waiting years before they even address some of those issues, like what you're talking about right now. It just kind of gets pushed down and suppressed. So the fact that you're open sharing with us now, but you were aware of it as you were raising your children. And so that awareness is just so huge. And I think a lot of times as moms, we neglect ourselves, but two, we don't trust that voice that's here to tell us what we should do for ourselves, how we can help ourselves be a better mom, and how it's like, when's the last time you flew?
last year. Year
Last year.
ago.
Okay. So I flew home yesterday. So you know how like they do the whole thing with the life jacket thing and then the pull down the oxygen mask and parents put yours on first, then help your kid. And so like we hear that all the time. Every time we fly, every single time we hear that. But a lot of times it's we don't put our mask on first. We
Mhm.
don't we don't go get proper exercise. We don't get the proper nutrition. We eat the crust of their bread because they won't eat them. And we just do, right? We do what we do for our kids and for our family, and we will do that. So the fact that you are aware of that and started to make a shift for yourself, I'm sure had a tremendous impact on your family. And so how did you come up with this idea of this game?
Well, in preparing for that lesson I was talking about, I had to think about younger kids than I'm normally used to working with, and so I did some research and I read about the Inuit Indians and how they teach their children. Fascinating, whole other subject. Look it up. Um, to summarize, they use play to teach their kids emotional health, and they have a lot less emotionally non-intelligent children. I don't know. I didn't say that right.
Emotionally stunted or just like the emotional regression or the emotionally
Mhm.
stunted where so
Yeah,
so through their use of play, their people are more healthy in their
emotional. Yes.
emotions. Okay.
Hmm. Yes. And so just reading about that and what they did, they would use stories, they would use exaggeration, they would use play. And so I started thinking, well, how could I do that with our emotions? And just this, like, I think divine download came, and the game was made in an hour or two. And I started playing with it with other people that week. And it became a thing. I just walk around and go, wow, this is an actual thing.
That
Like, I've created amazing memories with people as I've played it.
that is really way cool. To be able to find something that creates that level of impact
Yes.
very quickly is really tremendous. And for you to be able to impress that upon people and to share that and to allow it to grow the way that it has. The first time that we met and we were talking about your game and you shared it with me, you had mentioned how it went beyond kids and that you had developed this to help children, but that really, what did you find happening when you shared it with different kinds of people?
Well, the first time I didn't play it with young families, I had some empty nester friends that came down an hour from up north and said, "We want to play the game with you." And I was like, well, it's kind of for kids, but okay. We just laughed for an hour and I realized it wasn't just for kids. And so I started playing it with young adults, with youth, with business women's retreats. For 2 hours, people would play this game and it would just create this safe space to be a tiny bit vulnerable with your emotions, but you just laugh and have fun. So it's a great icebreaker game, but once you understand like the thought behind it, it's like boom, you're teaching emotional intelligence and it's brilliant.
That is so way cool. That is so way cool that you're able to do that with. And is it like a board game? Is it a card game? Like, how do our families like? How can they visualize what this is?
Okay, this is a card game. You can learn it in 1 minute. It's great. So you have an action card and an emotion card, and you do the action in the emotion, and then you let people guess what the emotion is.
Okay.
So there are sayings, there's songs, there's movements. Do you want me to like demonstrate it real quick?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay. So I have make the sound of a chicken. And I'll let you guess what emotion I am.
This should be fun.
Or scare you off for the rest of your life. Okay.
One or the other.
All right. Let's see. All right. Walk, 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 walk.
Okay, it seems way more than just sad. Is this like depressed? Like, are you
it's kind of between sad and depressed? Yeah, it's very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, keep guessing.
Okay, what's between sad and depressed?
Yeah.
Not fearful.
No.
Gloomy. Thinking Eeyore.
Actually, that's pretty close. It starts with a D.
Geez, it's not depressed. Damper, daunting. Let's see what's some D words.
Walk, 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 walk.
Okay, this is hilarious. Shoot. I'm like, where's my thesaurus when I need one?
I know. So good point. So the word is discouraged.
Oh, that's a good word.
Yeah. So if you had a bunch of people around, you guys would get to it, fairly quickly. But what happens is as we are guessing, we are coming up with all those thesaurus words, right? So we are expanding our emotional vocabulary because most of us adults have 5 to 7 words that are a go-to for our emotional descriptions of how we feel.
Yeah.
And so if we can teach ourselves and our kids and our youth to pinpoint what it is that they feel, then they'll be much better able to handle the message that has for them. So if I'm discouraged, I need to take courage with something. And so I can look at what's discouraging me instead of just saying I'm sad.
Right.
Sad is not
a whole different
Mm-hmm.
piece.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So that's one thing that this game teaches is it expands our emotional vocabulary. In fact, I've had some good friends that I've played with that they've picked up the card amused and they're like, I've never felt this emotion before. Like, what's wrong with me? Nothing. You just have never like identified that emotion in your life. And so it has a lot to teach us adults as well. It's pretty fun.
That is really way cool because I'm thinking like kids get in the same box: happy, sad, mad, glad. Like they've got the 5 words, and then we're like, okay, then what does that emotion feel like? What does that emotion look like? How do I recognize it in someone else? How do I recognize it in myself? Like a conversation that you can have just would be very huge. And if you're you also mentioned that you use this with special needs kids, like kids who have autism or other kinds of special needs where maybe they're not the best communicator.
Right.
Maybe they don't have really great interaction with people because they've got other social emotional issues. And so this is a way for them to really branch out and get that out there and yes, they have to be vulnerable, but I think a lot of times kids don't have what we have. Mm-hmm. We're like, don't you dare, don't, no, let me hide, right? And kids are like, oh, you want me to do what? Yeah, I'll do it right now in front of everybody. Do you want me to do in the yard? Like, we're gonna do that, right? And so having that opportunity to share is really awesome.
I was at a garage sale, and there was a teen there, a young man, and he was kind of bored at this garage sale that we were working at. And I had my game there. And so I played with him for half an hour, and he was on the autistic spectrum and he loved it. We just played card after card after card, and it was so fun. And I've had really cool feedback from some friends who
That's,
also have kids on the spectrum. So
that is really way cool. So
yeah.
Melissa,
Mhm.
where can our friends that are watching this or who watch it later, where can they find information about how to get this really cool game?
So they can go to emotioncommotiongame.com. And we just talked about maybe one or two of the things that this game teaches. There's a lot of other things that it teaches as well. And so there's a little rundown of some of the things that game teaches there. But yeah, you can just buy it there. It's a great time when you want a game that will connect you to the people you play with. It's a great icebreaker, but it's also great to open up conversation if you wish it. So it's fantastic for Christmas time. So stocking stuffers.
Perfect. I thought maybe getting together and sharing what you have with families right now, right before the holidays, this would be a great way to break out, or when people get gift cards or whatever after Christmas, like, okay, you know what could I do? I think a lot of teachers, homeschooling families, counselors really could benefit from a product like this when working with kids. And I think a lot of times we might read a book, or we might go grab, a toy Lego stuffed animal, something like that, to try to create that. Well, how do you think the bear felt, in the story or something like that? But having to actually watch it and see it and create it that they do with this game, I think is just a little bit more powerful. Putting
It is.
yourself in the chicken's shoes.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just real quickly, it takes you through the beginning steps of emotional regulation, even when you don't realize that you're picking an emotion, you're accepting that that's the emotion you're going to be dealing with for the next minute or two. You're you're identifying with it, and you're allowing yourself to feel it in your body. And then through either speaking or singing or acting, you're moving that emotion out of your body. And that's emotional regulation, accepting what you feel, recognizing how you feel, just, okay, I'm feeling this emotion, and then moving it out. Because it's when
And
we don't allow it to get out that it gets stuck and causes illness and all kinds of trouble.
all
So
kinds of trouble. Thank you so much. But is there anything last that you'd like to share? I think everything you've shared with us today has been really valuable. Especially what you just said. Like, a lot of times, as adults, we hold on to our mat, or we hold on to our whatever. We're just, I'm just so disappointed. I was on a webinar just before this, and one of the women who was on there just like, well, I just don't know how, and just that discouraged. I just don't know how. I don't know how. I don't. And it's like, for an hour, I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, action. Could we figure out how to move through that and move into a more productive space? And I think that in our society, especially right now with COVID, it's very easy to be stuck in our spot, hold on to our crap, whatever it is. And this is mine. I'm going to hold on to it. And you know what? Until I can go outside without a mask on, I'm going to hold on to my crap. And I think that what you're providing for families, for children, for adults, for everybody, like, if they take advantage of something like this, really could be transformational for them. So any last minute words of encouragement, advice, anything you'd like to share about what you've provided for families with your product?
I would just like to encourage you to take advantage of this game. Not only does it like connect you, but it gives you this opportunity to tune into others and tune into yourself in a way that we don't give ourselves time for. So as you're watching people trying to portray their emotion, you're starting to recognize they do not feel, they do not look like how I feel inside when they're sharing their discouragement. It's totally different. And so you're opening up your empathy, which is great. And then sometimes you realize I'm not getting across to people what I think I'm getting across. So what do I need to do, or what do I need to say so that I can share my feelings? And it just, I want to normalize the sharing of feelings. Of course, we want to share them in appropriate ways, and that's always the next step, right? But we we need to express those emotions, and let's express it preemptively and not in the middle of a tantrum, right?
Oh, reactively?
Oh yeah. So many times we've got a kid in a tantrum and we're like, tell me how you feel, like what's going on? Or we have a teen and we're like, what's up with you? And they're like, I'm fine. Let's play with our emotions. Let's make them normal. Let's explore how we each feel so that we can really get in tune with each other and just expand that in our circles and realize, we need to allow people to feel what they feel so they can move through it. I think those people, when we get stuck in our emotions, is because we're not paying attention, we're not allowing ourselves to move through it. And that stuckness is it's stinky. I hate it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Improving relationships, improving your worth of yourself, thinking about how yourself works. All of these things sound like they're things that can be done with emotion commotion. Friends, as you're watching this today, as you stumble upon this, share this with people that you know, people that have kids, people that want kids, people that know kids, people that teach kids. People that work with people, anybody who's working with people and struggles with that management of emotion could potentially benefit from something like this. Could really change a workplace. Could change a home. So if you are so inclined, we'll put the web link in the chat bar. Comment, like, share, tag somebody. We'd love to get this out there because my friend Melissa, she's created a beautiful product that really can help transform families. And so, Melissa, thank you so much. Have a Merry Christmas, and then I will be seeing you hopefully again soon after this new year.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I loved it.
You're so welcome. Have a great night.
All right, you too.